think if we're smart about this, we can do this in a very sensible way and make the changes that we need to do, certainly without losing the character of the Ventura that we want. So I'm excited that we're moving forward. I want to thank everyone involved, and I look forward to DCP's report in the new year on how to tackle this very needed effort. No, thank you, and I believe it was your motion that initiated this, along with Council members Koretz, Krikorian, and Rue, and Huizar. So with that, we'll go ahead then and move and adopt the motion, refer to staff, begin working on it as well. So without objection, that'll be unanimous. That'll be the order. Thank you. Next item is item 7, which we have 2 cards for. Juan. You want it after? Okay. Yes, please. Juan.
Hello, my name is Juan Carranza. I'm here today to bring forth my concern about the Adams and Grand Development applicant, Mr. Michael Schwartzman, and Project Rep Alex Irvine and Associates have done a terrible job in providing information about the development to residents, business owners, students, and parents that live in the community. I understand development, in order to have an impact on the housing crisis, development is needed, but it shouldn't be done underhandedly, but inclusively. I've been waiting since the last hearing for someone from Lee Andrews Group to provide me with answers to some questions I have about my business and neighbors being displaced. But I must tell you, Councilman Curran Price, no one has returned any or one message nor reply to me or my family. I would like to ask the council, is that the proper way community engagement should be done? I understand the community I grew up in and I do business in for the past 15 years is changing, but we want the opportunity to change with the times and remain in business. This is our livelihood and is all we know. I'm part owner of Esperanza's Bakery and one of the businesses that's being displaced in the supposed project that they got going. And finally, this development.
Great. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Maria Patino.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Patiño, and I'm with Strategic Actions for a Just Economy. We're a nonprofit in South Central. We're very concerned, first of all, with the low number of affordable housing units, although they are very low-income units. There's only going to be 25 units out of the 296, and 3 units allocated for workforce. Exactly 1 year ago, voters voted for JJJ, so we're demanding more affordable housing, and we understand that this is applying under a density bonus, but actually this was brought up during the CPC. We submitted a letter during the CPC meeting, and they were able to accommodate a little bit more units, so maybe you all would take that into consideration as well. In addition, as Juan from Esperanza Bakery is here and other businesses were not able to be here today, there's going to be more than 100 jobs that are going to be lost, including garment workers. A lot of people that live in the community are garment workers. Where are they going to work if there's no more? There's more than 5 factories. If you even walk around there, you see that this is going to be deeply affected. So we ask you that please take into consideration our concerns as well as the concerns of the residents. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you very much. And then we have the applicant as well, Michael. And as an applicant, you get up to 5 minutes. I don't know if you need the entire 5.
I don't believe I'll need the entire 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, though. My name is Michael Schwartzman. I'm Vice President of Development at CityView. On behalf of the applicant today, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to, first of all, thank staff who's worked with us on this project extensively. The process has gone very well, very smooth. We are proposing a 7-story project with 296 units, 3,500 square feet of ground floor retail. We do have 25 affordable housing units, and at Planning Commission we were asked to add an additional 3 workforce housing units, which we accepted. We are very happy with the community outreach we've done. It's been quite extensive. We've met with 28 groups to feel that we have touched everyone in the neighborhood. The planning to deliver a fantastic project with a number of community benefits beyond the affordable units. We look to have a nice local hire program where we hope to engage 12 jobs directly from a 3-mile radius, and then looking for the City of Los Angeles to fill the rest of our objective. We'll be doing that with LA Trade Tech Outreach Center. We've already met with them. Things are going very well in that regard. And we think by placing a project like this in this area, we bring a lot to the community, mostly a professionally managed, very secure, very bright, A lot of more eyes and ears makes for a safer environment in this neighborhood. And I think that that makes for numerous benefits to the community, as well as putting a whole bunch of residents here for some of the surrounding businesses. As well, we're trying to bring some nice retail to this corner to make a lively location. And today, in case anyone from Plum has questions, we do have our entire team of consultants here in case anyone has any specific questions. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to, first of all, thank you for providing me with an opportunity to highlight this exciting project that's coming to the new ninth. I want to thank everyone who spoke, or those pro and con. But City View is a great example of a compact infill development project that's a couple of blocks away from the Reef, recently approved by the council, and the Expo and Blue Line stations. I too want to thank staff for their extraordinary work, working with the developer and the community, pulling this together. And a special shout out to Lakeisha and Maribel from my office on their hard work. I want to thank the applicant for the excellent community outreach and the engagement with the community members and their involvement in this process. It appears that at least one gentleman was not reached in that outreach, and I just encourage you to make contact with him this afternoon before you leave. But I'm excited about this project because it's a well-designed, mixed-use, mixed-income, transit-oriented development project. It's going to have, as was referenced earlier, 5,000 square feet of retail and restaurants on the ground floor, and the following type of housing, a mix of housing types: 296 units, of which 25 are going to be very low-income units, and an additional 3 workforce housing units, all proposed by the Planning Commission and accepted by the developer. This hybrid housing is much needed in the new ninth, and something that we have never, ever seen before. Most importantly, this project is not going to displace anybody. No one will be displaced. It has a great job housing balance and is in line with the new and proposed Southeast LA community plan. The community benefits package includes hundreds of construction jobs, a partnership with the Vernon Central LA Trade Tech College Workforce Center for local hiring, and up to 20 permanent jobs to the local community at project completion. With that said, I'm happy to support this project as another great development coming to the new ninth. Committee members, I'm asking for your approval of this project. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. So with that, we'll go ahead and approve this project and move it forward. That'll be unanimous. All right.
Thank you.
Approved. Thank you very much. Congratulations, y'all. Sounds like there's been a tremendous amount of work done on that and outreach. And then last and final item is item 9, of which we do have a lot of cards for. Yeah, we can, if we can go ahead, Roberto, read this one into the record.
Sure, Councilman. Item 9 is the West LA APC draft zone change ordinance to modify a queue condition and also an associated appeal as to the coastal development permit.
Okay, and so with that, we do have a card from CD11. Do you wish to speak first? Oh, you want to speak at the end? Okay. So we have a number of cards from the appellant. So we can have asked the appellant to go first.
Councilman?
David? Yes.
Adrian Corsani, City Attorney's Office. For this item, I just want to suggest having staff do a brief presentation to frame the context of the project.
Sure, okay. It could be, and I think they all know why they're here. We got several cards, so we can keep it very brief. But if we can have staff just do an overall.
Good afternoon. Jason Chan, City Planning Department. The item before you is an appeal of the West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission determination regarding an existing art gallery within the Venice Community Plan. The request is a zone change to modify a queue condition from 1988, which states the use shall be as an art gallery only. The project is only strictly a change of use, as no new construction or expansion is proposed. Along with the zone change, the project also requires a coastal development permit, or CDP, since it is located within a dual jurisdiction area of a coastal zone. The change of use would allow the art gallery to continue, also allow other similar business or professional uses that are art-related, such as visual arts, media and film production, and graphic design. The primary appeal point is that the project requires a general plan amendment due to the zone change. However, a general plan amendment is not required because no changes are proposed to the existing land use designation and no footnotes are affected by this request. The land uses proposed in the modified queue condition are consistent with the existing land use designations of neighborhood commercial and art craft, and the uses permitted in the underlying commercial art craft supplemental use district. Also, I would like to add 2 corrections to the item before you. These are transmitted to you by the city clerk, but I was advised to enter it into the record. The first item is a revised categorical exemption from CEQA, since a new class and category was found to be more suitable for the project. This revised and expanded CE is included in your transmittal. The second item is to enter into the record today the queue condition that was modified and determined by APC on July 5th. The queue condition reads as, the building on lots 12 and 13 shall be limited to the following uses: an art gallery and associated uses, and office, business, or professional uses that are related, including administrative operations, to creative activities, including, but not limited to, visual arts, audio arts, literary arts, design, culture, architecture, and engineering, entertainment, emerging technologies, production and post-production, media, digital, and electronic design and technologies, and other similar uses. In conclusion, the main appeal points can be refuted, and the Planning Department recommends that the appeal be denied, that the City Council approve the subject, zone change, and CDP. Also recommend that the City Council determine that based on the whole of the administrative record, the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to City CEQA Guidelines 15.323, Section 1, Class 23, and Class 15.303 of the state guidelines. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, so we're going to start with the appellant. You've got 5 minutes on the appellant. David Ewing? I believe there's only one appellant. Okay.
No, there are 2 of us here.
Okay, well, you get 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
there was one appeal filed, and I believe there are 7 names on the appeal.
7, 8. Okay, let me ask you the question on that. So there's one appeal filed. Are there other folks here are part of those 7? Just the 2 of you? And do you have all cards filled out also? But you're all together as an appellant, correct? So however you want to divide up your 5 minutes is perfectly acceptable. Do you have one person speaking on all your behalf, or do you want to come up and share your time?
So others cannot comment in public comment?
Well, they can, but you get 5 minutes as the appellant. There are 7 people on the appeal. So you get 5 minutes, as we did on the other case.
Okay,
right?
So I'll keep my comments as brief as possible.
Okay.
So my name is David Ewing. I'm a Venice resident and appellant, and I'll be joined by Tom McCullough, who's an attorney and a fellow appellant. He's been involved with this property since before it was a gallery. The Planning Commission erred in granting changes of use in the queue conditions because it failed to make any finding recognizing the existing benefits to the city of the current mandated use, benefits for which the city made important investments of carefully crafted entitlements and concessions to permit and limit the use to an art gallery. Commission failed to make any findings regarding this benefit, despite the fact that the new entitlement removes the protection of the city's investment in the current use, removing the requirement that the zoned use remain an art gallery in perpetuity. It also erred in making unsubstantiated and highly flawed findings on parking, which others will address, and it erred in classifying tech offices as art craft and other unrelated uses as art craft. It's important to understand the framework of what's happened and what it means to the community and what the city has invested in the existing use. It had been affordable housing. It received special treatment from the city in order to become a gallery. Several elderly women were relocated. Residential zoning was changed. Height variance was granted. Off-site parking garage was granted. And a change of use via the Q condition now at issue. The original permit for the art gallery assured adequate parking and a limit on hours until 6 p.m. in order to protect the surrounding community. The conversion was approved because this was considered a visitor-serving use and a supporting use of the art craft coastal land use designation. The city saw that this art gallery could be a great benefit to the storied arts community of Venice, which has produced an astounding number of world-renowned artists, and the city's investment paid off. Venice has become a world cultural center because of its artists. And so the only reason for the application now is to allow it to be turned into other kinds of offices and other uses at the owner's convenience. He's getting ready to retire, but he wants to keep it an art gallery until his backlog is finished of shows. That backlog tells you how successful it's been and what an asset it is to the community, and it should remain such. Thank you.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Tom McCullough. My family and I have lived in Venice since the early 70s. In 1988, we became aware that there was a move to change residential property to commercial. We opposed this very vigorously and vehemently. We found out that they were going to put in, quote, an art gallery, but no one really knew what that meant because the application was very broad. Ultimately, there was a compromise reached. In May of 1988, I sent a letter to the president of the city planning outlining issues that had to be addressed. Ultimately, they were addressed, and the creation was the Q conditions, 19 very specific conditions. One, property was going to be used exclusively, and I emphasize the word exclusively, as an art gallery. Not an art gallery with office spaces, as they're seeking today, but an art gallery. And for 20 years, that has been maintained. The other conditions are very specific about the hours of operations, parking spaces, everything. The original application is very amorphic. It's not specific about anything. You read it, and it says, well, what are you going to do about changing the office space? They say, we don't know until we rent it out. So the bottom line is, we don't know what they're going to do. And this is the mistake that was made below. There is nothing specific in their changes. Where is the benefit to the city? The compromise that was reached with the 19 Q things benefited this city, as we've seen for the last 20 years. It benefited the neighborhood, as we've seen in the last 20 years. Now they want to change all of that. The other issue is, who owns this property? At the last hearing, the chairperson asked who owns this property. People said Mr. Gould owns it individually. That is incorrect. It is a general partnership that owns it. I asked what the partnership agreement says. It's never happened.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I understand there were a number of other folks who were part of the appellant list that didn't get a chance to speak, but I want to make sure that your names are entered into the record that you were here. So if you could just come up and just give me your name so I can check off your card that you were here on behalf of one of the 7 appellants as well.
Yes, my name is James Robb. I live directly behind the LA Louver. I've lived there for 17 years. And my issue is parking, which I would have spoke on.
Okay.
So
Thank you. And the next appellant?
I am Corinne Karina Christmas. I am also an adjacent resident to the Louvre. I've been living there for 7 years, and it is destroying quality of life on that block.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks for being here. Were there any other members of the appellant group? No? Okay, those were all 7, or the ones that were here anyway of those. Then we have the applicant. Now, on the applicant side, we do have a number of cards that weren't necessarily filled as the applicant, but I believe they're all one group as well. So let me know. We've got Peter Golds. We also have Nancy Friedman as the property owner. Are you all here? Okay. Renee as a representative, and you're one of the representatives, as well as Ryan Everest is one of the representatives as well. Okay, so for all of you on the applicant side, as the applicant, because you are the applicant, if you will, or representatives and owner, so we'll give you the same. You'll get 5 minutes, and then you can figure out of which, who wants to speak of those 5, or all of you, if you want to divide that up. We'll leave that up to you. So, but either one of you can start to come on up when you're ready. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon. I'm John Parker. I put a card in. I'm also a representative for the applicant.
You did not put a card in?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
And okay, let me, like I said, these ones weren't. John Parker, I've got your card here as well. Okay. Is there any others that are here as a representative or owner or part of the application, the applicant team? So we have them all. Okay. And Mr. Parker, did you wish to start your 5 minutes?
Yes, I'd like to.
On behalf of everybody?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
we'll go ahead and start yours. Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, John Parker, Pacific Crest Consultants. The applicant agrees without exception with the zone change recommendation, the coastal development permit approval, the proposed queue conditions, the administrative conditions, and the findings of the West LA Area Planning Commission letter of determination. We request that the Plum Committee and the City Council sustain the Commission's decision. In summary, the applicant's request is to amend the queue condition on the property, which limits it solely to an art gallery. 30 years have elapsed since that condition was approved. It's a very long time for a small property to be subject to one very limited, restrictive, permitted use on the property. When the official record clearly indicates that it was the intent of the City Council at that time to require single use perpetuity, it was not the intent, rather, irrespective of changes in conditions. It was very clear in the record that City Council contemplated that a new coastal development permit and new zone change could modify the use at a later date, as we are now requesting. The request is a simple desire to introduce some flexibility into the permitted use of the property. Turning to the appeal, the appellants argue that the findings...
If we can ask you to just speak into the microphone a little closer.
Okay, thank you.
You can grab the mic if you'd like to.
Is that good? Thank you. The appellants argue that the city did not make the proper findings for the coastal development permit. In fact, the letter of determination has many pages devoted to the various findings that are mandated by the Coastal Act. The appellant argues that the zone change is not in conformity with the Venice Local Coastal Program land use plan. In fact, with the queue condition modification that was made by the Area Planning Commission to the first queue condition, it is in conformity with the land use plan. The uses are fully consistent with the art craft designation on the property. Moreover, the basic zone on the property is still the QC 1.5 zone. That will not change. That zone is consistent with the LUP and also with the Venice community plan. The appellant argues that the property was meant as an art gallery and no other use. I've already alluded to the fact that when the original zone change was approved as part of the coastal development permit, a condition was expressly put into the coastal development permit that stated the legislative intent of the City Council. It was clear that should there be a desire for a new use or a modification of use in the future, that a new zone change would be applied for and a new coastal development permit, and that would be the way to modify the original approval. That's what we're doing here today. Finally, the appellant argues that Mr. Goulds does not speak on behalf of the partnership that owns the gallery. In fact, he is the managing partner of the partnership, and it's very clear in the record, and was satisfied by the planning department that he did in fact represent the applicant and the property owner in this case when he made the application. This is a request for a zone change, which runs with the land. It's based on the merits of whether that makes sense on the property, and it is not for the benefit of any one individual. The decision before you is whether or not it makes sense as a change in land use on the property. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any at this point.
Great, thank you. No, you got a minute, 30 seconds left. I think somebody else is right behind you.
Good afternoon. Renee Scalacci. I represent LA Louver. The request before you is a simple desire to provide flexibility for potential use of this property. I just want to remind everyone that this is not a city-owned gallery. This is a privately owned property. Through the many months that we've been going through this process, we have done extensive outreach. We have secured the support of the Venice Neighborhood Council, Councilman Bonin, as well as the Venice Arts Council, the Social and Public Arts Resource Center, and as a former 20-year resident of Venice, I have never seen support like this. We have over 224 supporters that are locally supporting the request of this queue condition to be changed. We had 60 local Venice residents submit letters, and we had 17 new letters this week. This is unprecedented. This is a technical change, and we would ask that you deny the appeal. Thank you so much. We have some supporters that have come a long way that I hope they get the opportunity to speak to your committee today.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, with that, that concludes the applicant speaker cards, and then we do have a number of individuals that were neither part of or working on or with the either applicant or appellant. Tom Vinette, followed by, and you've got a minute each, Robin Vertisil.
Thank you. My name is Tom Vinetz. I'm a 40-year resident of Venice, property owner, photographer, have been involved in the arts community for all that time. I don't think this is simply a support of LA Louver and Peter Gould and his support for the arts in Venice and Los Angeles. I'm supporting a lawful and considered modification in the queue requests and conditions of the zoning. There's no doubt that Peter has played a prominent position with LA Louver Gallery and the effect it's had on the arts community. He's built and maintained the gallery and become an international destination for work. Venice is changing, as is every aspect of LA. This is a request of private property rights, and the changes will not significantly alter the effect on the area of Venice in which the gallery is now located. Thank you.
Robin Rudisil, Venice stakeholder and neighboring property owner. Please see my email dated today, just provided to you with the 4 exhibits. And I noted several material due process errors in notice, items 1 through 4. If you could please turn to the exhibits. Number 1, I first want to point out that the West LA Area Planning Commission erred and abused its discretion in approving the zone changes. There's no valid need for this request, other than to enrich the applicant and allow for further expansion of tech offices on the boardwalk, which is not a preferred or allowed use in a coastal land use designation of art craft in the coastal zone. And this change of use does not in any way provide a public benefit or conform with public necessity or convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice as is required. Second exhibit, West LA Area Planning Commission erred and abused discretion for not noting the requirement for project permit compliance under the ordinance and in not considering parking provided for the proposed office uses starting at 6 p.m. or what the designation of art craft allows in terms of uses, and that does not include office uses. And if you look at exhibits 3 and 4, you will see the coastal requirements.
Great, thank you very much. David Bonnet, followed by Bruce Ferguson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I am a resident of Los Angeles. I'm a property owner in Venice. We all understand that the community is changing, and Peter Gould's and L.A. Louver have been the catalyst and instrumental in the ascendancy of Venice as an arts community. And it's a private gallery, it's private property, and if we're looking to accommodate to the changes in Venice, we would want to accommodate this alteration to ensure more and more public, whether it remains a gallery or perhaps a gallery and or offices, that more public come to Venice. And it's very conceivable that under the current zoning, the building could be sold to a private owner and closed to the public forever as a private gallery. And so I think approval of this actually helps ensure future public access. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bruce Ferguson, President of Otis College of Art and Design. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. First thing I would say that the request to modify the condition is clearly in compliance with all of the regulatory aspects as we read them. More importantly, I think that we do a report on the creative economy of LA and California, and it's now, of course, the city that is the #1 creative economy city in the United States, if not in the world. And part of that is due, I would think, to a certain number of people who have invested deeply in their cultures and their communities over the last 4 decades. Peter Gould's being one of those people. I think that he's asking for a small change of a business plan in a private enterprise, and that we should actually acknowledge and honor him for being one of the people who has made this the city in which the arts thrive and will continue to thrive in the future. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. And then our final speaker on this is Erin from the Venice Family Clinic.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
I'm Erin Harnish. I'm the event director at Venice Family Clinic, and L.A. Louver has been supporting Venice Family Clinic as we provide health care for people in need for over 40 years by leveraging their relationships with artists to make the Venice Art Walk and auctions our biggest fundraiser. And so for that reason, I'm here to support them and hope they'll get the modification requested.
Excellent. All right, thank you very much. And then we have one speaker card from the council office. I'm sorry?
One person was called as the applicant, and she's not the applicant. It was filled out wrong on the card.
Oh, sure.
Property owner.
You're the property owner?
Yeah. My name is Nancy Friedman. I'm the former chair of the Brentwood Community Council, and I have property in Venice. And I just wanted to say that I think this modification of the Q condition is like a poster child for land use. And I wouldn't take it lightly that this gallery has been a valuable part of the Venice community and probably the star of the entire place. I know that change is often hard to accept, but in this situation, it actually improves the community and allows future artistic talent to create a vibrant art setting. It's been approved by the APC and the neighborhood councils and many of the residents. The gallery has worked with the community, and I think that's a very necessary obligation, which they've fulfilled, and I would wholeheartedly encourage you to support the modification. Thank you.
Great. Oh, thank you very much. All right, Tricia, come on up.
Good afternoon. Tricia Keene, Deputy Chief of Staff for Councilmember Mike Bonin. I'd like to thank you for hearing this item today, and I'd like to thank the many members of the community who have spent a considerable amount of their time on this issue. The gallery is obviously an important resource in Venice, and art galleries and space for creative endeavors are part of what makes Venice Venice. The councilman understands the need to continue to maintain gallery space in the community while balancing the desire for some flexibility in how the property is managed. The applicant has asked for a change of the Q conditions that balances the need of maintaining gallery space while allowing for some additional uses that are consistent with the art craft designation. It is significant to note, as you've heard, that the Venice Neighborhood Council, a broad number of community members, and the APC have all supported this request. Therefore, the council office also supports the request that's before you today.
Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, having heard from the appellant, the applicant, many folks in the community, as well as the council office, I would move that we move to deny the appeal and adopt the actions outlined by the planning staff during their presentations. So moved. Then that'll be the order without objection. All right. And that concludes the agenda. That concludes the Plum Committee. We are adjourned. Thank you all.